Thanks all attendees for joining the OETG webinar. Taking forward the presentation, briefly introducing about who we are as a NexInfo. So we as a NexInfo are headquartered in Southern California, Orange County, provide consulting services, a blend of business process and software consulting services to help our customers to achieve operational excellence. We provide software expertise or the product ERP expertise across Oracle ERP, SAP, Microsoft, Kinaxis, NetSuite, and quite others. From the ERP domain standpoint, we provide business process expertise across ERP, EPM, HCM, CX, etc. We have got presence in Europe, United States, and India, and we have been accredited by Gartner, Inc. 5000, and multiple agencies. Along with, we featured a couple months before in Yahoo Finance as providing services to both enterprise customers as well as the SME segment customers. Moving to a brief introduction about panelists. I'm Hemal Parekh, Senior Solution Architect from NexInfo. Expertise across business process, consulting, change management, solution design, help customers across ERP, EPM, and HCM business processes, how they can adopt business processes, what will be the transformation looking like for them to achieve their business excellence. I'm certified Oracle implementation specialist, have presented multiple Oracle topics across Ascent, Collaborate, the erstwhile Collaborate, Yug, and many of the regional OETG forums, and have published articles in Oracle OETG Insight magazine. With me, I'm having Prakash, who is our EPM lead. Would request Prakash to introduce himself. Over to you, Prakash.
Indeed, pleasure welcoming you all to this webinar. My name is Prakash Malmargan. I'm the EPM lead at NexInfo. I'm a speaker at Analytics and Data Summit happened in 2019 in Oracle Conference Center, California. I'm a certified enterprise planning and budgeting cloud specialist. I'm also a certified blockchain expert by the Blockchain Council. My core area of works is primarily on the EPM and analytics. Back to you, Hema.
Thank you, Prakash. Brief overview of the agenda. What we're going to cover today is talking about the business challenges, why Oracle EPM Cloud, what does the offering EPM Cloud product from Oracle has got, what it takes for moving to EPM Cloud. Maybe you are on-prem Oracle application or a non-Oracle application. What are the different approaches? What would be typical assessment looking like for you to adopt that? Followed by customer case study, how customers have leveraged EPM Cloud for their success. Towards post that, we'll be talking about the periodic maintenance. So if you are having EPM Cloud along with integrating with your ERP application, what are the periodic maintenance activities that needs to be performed, and what would the typical checklist looking like? Towards the end, we'll be having a forum for Q&A. So please feel free to put your questions into the right side of the chat so that we can take those questions and we can address those. So with that, getting into the presentation now, talking about business challenges, the challenges that impact the business confidence. If we try to think specifically from FP&A business user standpoint who perform the financial planning, you may be using a spreadsheet or maybe your on-prem product or whatever product you may be using. So typical challenges that business have is like planning data looks skewed. What they see on one side is probably X, whereas on the other side is Y. Both are contradictory. So they're not really sure like this is what it should be. And then they have to do a deep dive analysis and try to refine it. Rigid systems lacking modeling capability. A lot of things are still manual, not able to leverage the automation of their forecasting or what-if analysis, etc. Sourcing from multiple systems is also painful because typically for you to perform your planning exercise effectively, you need to rely on the data being fed from multiple systems. It's not just the ERP system, but maybe there are a few other statistical data that you're trying to get from other systems, how you can effectively utilize that and make your planning more effective. System silos, which are lacking visibility. So you have data source from multiple systems, but you're not able to relate back or drill back and tie the things how what is showing up in your balances. That's another aspect that typical the business has got challenges. Others, what we have seen from reports and tracking, maybe the current system or what users are using. It doesn't provide enough tracking visibility, doesn't provide, because business typically requires multiple levels of reporting. Leadership would require management reporting, a high-level view of KPIs, whereas accounting team would be requiring a detailed level. They should be able to tie back, okay, what is showing up as a high-level roll-up numbers? Is it really tying back to what the individual GL journal entry is? Can I track to that level? Is there a reporting capability? Can I do that? And last but not least, to cater to all these issues or to address this, many times they have to compromise on the financial controls. For coordination with multiple users, things are being shared which can be left open for anybody to consume, which is not required or which is not right. Those are the typical challenges that we have seen across many of our customers, and the vision which most of the people would be expecting from the business standpoint would be, can I have a connected planning? Can my planning systems talk? Am I having workforce planning? I'm having financial planning. I'm having CapEx planning. Can I have a connected view of that? Can my system help me to utilize and create the models for my what if analysis? Does it, along with that, does it provide a flexibility where I change something and suddenly I get my balances changed in real time? Can my systems also have an automated integration options? That way, it minimizes my manual interventions and it minimizes the error-prone scenarios. And breaking the system silos, where I can actually see the balances at a high level and I can drill down or drill back to my detailed expense transactions. Is it possible? And can I get robust reporting and dashboards to meet to everyone from accounting team to management or leadership level? Can a system help that? And in achieving all these things, the vision is that we are still not having any compliance issues. We have a SOC compliance, our security compliance, who is supposed to see what that has been mandated. And that's what this total presentation is about, how we can achieve that vision, or can EPM Cloud help in achieving that? So with that, moving to the next slide, or the section which is why Oracle EPM Cloud, and what does it offer? So if we try to see about Oracle EPM Cloud, the first thing question comes is a cloud offering of Oracle making sense, right? Why not to continue with on-prem, right? So if we try to think from that standpoint, the obvious reasons why the cloud adoption, which even the industry is moving around with, is minimizing on hardware costs, your low cost of maintenance, seamless monthly, actually you get your latest and greatest features being pushed to you as a part of the cloud ERP product, able to have your backups, multiple environments, and also a flexibility to customize or tailor or configure your applications to meet your user-specific and your industry-specific advantage that you would like to gain. So with that, moving to specifically what EPM Cloud has got the offering. So EPM Cloud offering caters to planning, financial consolidation close, account reconciliation, your master data management, which is called enterprise data management, EDMCS, narrative reporting, which brings in your financial reporting along with the narration part to have your quarterly or year-end report book to be generated, along with tax reporting and profitability cost management. For today's session, we'll be focusing more on the planning. Within the planning cloud, which is also called as EPBCS or Enterprise Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service, it has got multiple sub-business processes. First being the financial, workforce, capital, which is also called CapEx, and projects, and the strategic planning. So these are the different offerings what Oracle EPM Cloud provides. And we're going to do a deep dive as part of our discussion for the rest of the slides, more focused on the financial planning and how it actually can be utilized to connect with your workforce, capital projects, and what advantage it can bring in. So with that, moving to the next slide, we are talking about the financial planning. Prakash, let's move to the next slide. If we can throw a bit of light on from the licensing standpoint, what would be the difference with standard license versus your enterprise license? Prakash, if you can throw the light for that offering from EPM PBCS standpoint.
Sure. As Hemal was mentioning, EPM is nothing but the Hyperion planning, what we have seen it in the on-prem, which now sits in the cloud with bit more intelligence and then a lot more sophistication in the way how you can actually consume all these features in the cloud. Oracle actually packaged the EPM solutions in two editions. One is a standard edition, which includes the typical planning process. Along with that, you also get the account reconciliation, consolidation, and close process, and also a narrative report. Within planning, in the standard edition, where you get all the out-of-the-box module, including capital, financials, workforce, project, or even your strategic modeling for long-range planning, right? And along with this, you'll also get a custom cube, which is a custom database, which helps in building some complex problem which you wanted to solve within the standard edition. On the other edition, which Oracle calls it as the EPM Enterprise Cloud Services, this is a full packaged EPM suite, which includes a lot more business processes, including the EDMCS, which is called as Enterprise Data Management Cloud Services, to primarily accommodate and centralize all your metadata management. And then you'll also get profitability and cost management and tax reporting. In addition to narrative reports, you also get the disclosure management feature in the enterprise box. And within planning, you get the custom planning and then the free-form planning, which typically helps in customers to build their own custom business process to solve their special challenges that they are facing in their planning process. So custom planning includes a complete empty cubes where you can actually utilize those standard dimension along with that you can include all those custom dimensions which are going to be part of your planning life cycle. On the other side, you also get the free form planning, which does not have any restriction like the custom planning, which also means you don't really have to utilize all those standard dimension. Instead, you can build your dimension as such you would like to have in the planning process. Across these planning suite, you get two type of databases, BSO and then ASO. BSO is a block storage option, which typically used for solving some complex scenarios, whereas the ASO is more like a data warehouse, primarily for reporting needs. In the next few slides, we're gonna deep dive into the key functionalities and features that it provides in order to address those challenges. And then we also gonna talk about some assessment on how you can actually move forward to the cloud. Let's start with the first key challenge of connected planning. As a FP&A team, any team would be like interested in knowing what data comes from which piece of my planning process. So across the planning, let's say you're more focused on the financials, workforce capex, and projects, right? You have the workforce planning module, which sends the aggregated compensation by employee or job code, or even by both employee and job code back all the way to the financials module. And then talking about the capex, where the amortization and depreciation of each of those assets is going to be categorized into your financial accounts, into balance sheet and then income statement account. And talking about projects, how can I actually manage my projects? How can I actually plan my projects, assuming I have a capital project which I wanted to plan, consider how much capital that I want to spend, the expense that I wanted to spend for my capital project. And end of the day, once the project is done, you can actually capitalize it and it will be moved into the capital planning as an existing asset. And again, the existing asset integrates directly all the way to the financials. And within financials, you get the typical income statement, which again be broken down into revenue and then expense planning and balance sheet planning, cash flow planning. You also get the strategic modeling, which allows you to plan your corporate visions for the next 5 to 10 years. Out of the box, within all of these pre-built modules, which includes drivers, trends, and then even you can use the trends in accounts, which means you can bring your own chart of accounts and then use those trends on top of those. And it also gives you a KPIs, calculation forms, reports, dashboard, and then some quick infolettes. And out of the box, end of the day, this provides a best-in-class business planning process, which is packaged along with this planning modules. Talking about the modeling capabilities that typically FP&A team or an analyst who plays a lot with these systems whenever a planning cycle is getting initiated, right? So that's when, assuming that you're almost close to finalize your budget and you suddenly wanted to have a scenario, hey, well, I wanted to understand in case if I have a different scenario, how would my numbers may look like. Let's say you wanted to change a trend from current year actual average to last year forecast average, right? So how would those number will affect my current finalized number, right? That's where without even disturbing your real number which you are about to publish it to the management, you can quickly create some what if kind of scenarios to understand based on the new trend that I've picked, how my numbers are going to look like. And then if you like it, right, so that's where you have your sandbox feature, which typically creates a local database of mimics the overall application in a local place, which is accessible only by a user who created the sandbox. And then they can play with the balances and then they can publish it. Before even they publish it, they can send it to an approval process hierarchy, and then based on the superior or the controller who is going to review the number, he or she can actually approve whether they wanted to release it to the publishing version or still they wanted to hold it back. Additionally, what the other feature that any user will be looking for is how dynamically can I change my rolling forecast cycle. Assuming I have a 12-month rolling fire cycle and suddenly I wanted to change it to 16 or even up to 60 months, right? So can I change it on a dynamic basis without even having a developer to work on changing those or introducing a lot more objects. So that's not the case in the out-of-the-box planning module. You get a small drop-down list from there. You can actually pick how many rolling periods you wanted to use for your rolling forecast cycle. And within the forecasting cycle, you also get a lot of predictive algorithms within the system, including non-seasonal or seasonal or even ARIMA time series kind of algorithms to typically predict the number. So you don't really have to work on uh, defining or deriving those numbers on a periodic basis. You can let these predictive algorithms to predict those numbers, and based on its prediction, you can go and modify in case if it requires a revision. Let's talk about the integration, which may be a kind of a keen interest for a lot of developers or even people who wanted to integrate all their system within their ecosystem to talk to the EPM system or ideally to use it in the planning cycle. Right? This is a high-level architecture of how the planning system will look like. With we have taken some minimalistic data sources here. On the leftmost corner, we have the financials cloud, which sends the kind of an accounting system, which sends the GL actuals to the EPM planning cloud. Ideally, you'll be utilizing all those actuals for to derive planning numbers, or even you will be utilizing it on the rolling forecast where you may have 9 plus 3 or 3 plus 9 kind of rolling forecast. Or even if you have flat files or even you have an on-prem system which can also be connected to the EPM cloud utilizing the EPM agent or EPM automate utility. And on the rightmost end, we have just quickly highlighted the different user interfaces through which you can actually access your data from the EPM cloud through a web browser or an Office plugin which sits on your Office suite, or even you can build some financial reports. Let's speak into the details of the integration services that Oracle EPM provides. It has got pre-built adapters, including Fusion Cloud, HCM Cloud, NetSuite, which all has it gives a pre-built adapter that connects all the way directly to those services from your EPM planning cloud. Fusion will typically sending the GL actuals to the EPM planning application. In return, it picks the budget data, which is actually originated within your planning system, right? So it picks the budget data, and again, you can decide whether you wanted to use those budget data just for reporting needs, or you wanted to use those for setting up some soft limit on the budget controls. Right? Assuming that you have a flat file, or will I be able to upload those flat files all the way directly into the EPM cloud? Yes, you can upload flat files directly into EPM cloud. Or even if you wanted to automate this process, you can utilize the EPM automate services to pick the file and then push it into the EPM. Or again, in sequence, you can also run some process which you may typically wanted to do after you load some fresh data into the system. It also has the ability to connect to PeopleSoft, JD. You might be wondering, in case if I have a different legacy system or an on-prem application where my database is available, will I still be able to send these data from my on-prem system or a third-party system to EPM Cloud? The answer is yes. You have the EPM agent, which is also packaged to the EPM Cloud. Along with this, you also get the REST APIs, which can also connect to your source system directly, assuming your source system has got those REST API services, right? Or even you can establish a direct connection to your DB using the EPM agent. End of the day, the outbound that you may be expecting from the EPM planning suite is where it has the ability to talk to OAC, narrative reports, FCCS, or even if you need a flat file, you can still be able to do that.
So, Prakash, this EPM Automate and EPM Agent as the two different tools being available and can cater to integration of EPM Cloud with the flat file or the third-party database. What is the recommended usage? And if you can throw some light on the technical aspect, like what's the best case when what should be used, EPM Automate or EPM Agent?
Sure. Let's talk about the EPM Automate utility. It's also packaged with the EPM planning suite. So whenever you have an EPM Automate, you can deploy that on a local server, or even if you wanted to deploy it on a cloud infrastructure where you wanted to set up a compute instance or an Elastic instance, you can deploy the EPM Automate. EPM Automate has the ability to pick any flat file from the local server, and it can upload it to the EPM system. In return, it also has the ability to extract the data from the EPM planning suite, and then it can send it all the way back to the same server, which can again be consumed by other softwares for any reporting or additional needs. Comparing this to EPM agent, EPM agent has the ability to talk to a database directly. It's not just like an EPM Automate just to pick the data from a file. EPM agent can connect to a database, and it has the capability to run some SQLs on top of the database, and the result set from the database will be again received by the EPM agent, which again be pushed to the planning and budgeting cloud. And in return, if you wanted to write back some budget data, you'll still be able to do that. And even if you wanted to drill back all the way to your source system, assuming you have some Bristol services in your source system, you should be able to do that as well. So this is a quick view of how the data integration user interface will look like. Although there are two different interfaces from where you can actually develop all these, but for ease of use, once those integrations are developed with the data integration screen, you can actually pick and choose which integration you want to run, and you can hit the play button, the run icon, and it will ask for which period you wanted to run the data for. And that's simple it is to execute an integration, or even you can actually automate these process using a lot of other scheduling functionalities. Let's talk about how you can actually integrate EPM system to a Fusion budget control system, which again, a lot of places I've seen customers using those budget data for reporting, and a few customers will be wondering, hey, can I use this budget data to set up some soft control whenever someone creates a PO or even in the fixed assets PPM module. So this is how you'll have to be setting up the connection. You have to set up the source connection and make sure the budget control checkbox is enabled when you are creating the connection. Right, that's the key parameter which identifies to which particular cube in the source system the EPM has to shake the hand with. And the following steps are pretty much the common steps where you have to establish a target application, and then make sure the period mapping is all defined, and then the scenarios, which we call it as a category mapping within the system, the scenario in my EPM, and it has to be mapped to what scenario in my source system. An import format is a place where typically we will be defining how the dimensions between both these box systems are mapped. And then we create a location, then which typically to segregate the rules and with some filter criteria. And then we create data load rules and mappings where we say, hey, this is the dimension account which maps to the account segment in my source system. However, in my EPM system, I have prefixed my account dimension with capital A. Right? You can define those mappings in this integration UI. One of the key considerations that we wanted to emphasize here in this session is whenever you are creating integration to your Fusion Cloud system, assuming you have a custom planning application in your EPM planning suite, which typically means you have to set up the argument as Hyperion planning. Again, it can be connected either to a reporting GL cube or a budgetary control cube. On the other side, in case if you have a out of the box planning module, right, in such cases that data load jobs has to be defined with an argument saying it is EPM financial module. Let's Hemal, would you like to talk about how the EPM systems breaks the system silos?
Sure. So I think the breaking system silos, I think that's one of the critical aspects where you would like to have the system talking with your source system. So moving to next slide, a peculiar representation of your drill through to the source system. As you can see, I've got a rent expense of 17,420. What does it comprise of? What are those transactions? Can I get drill through to those individual transactions of the payables invoice? Yes, and that's what, if you talk an example of EPM Cloud, like what you can see a snapshot is from EPM Cloud, you're doing a drill through to your Oracle Fusion financial application. Another aspect is like you can utilize your drill down based on your hierarchy, which can see your total balance being broken up into multiple child account level balances. But this drill through together will ensure that whatever the source system, it is Fusion Financials or it is other products, at least you can go drill through to those transactions which have been loaded or been brought into your EPM Cloud. And that provides a confidence to the business that the number that I'm seeing total, I have got a justification for it. One of the key aspects to achieve this is utilization of the plan element dimension that we have seen. Prakash, why don't you throw some light on how that can be used to achieve this functionality?
Definitely. End of the day, when you're done with all your adjustment that you wanted to make as part of your planning process, and now the question is, hey, how can I actually go and audit what was generated by the system and what was actually the adjustment gone into into those GL strings? So that's where the plan element dimensions plays a vital role in differentiating whether the number was actually calculated by the system or was that an adjustment made by an user. Again, if an audit is enabled at the data level, you'll be able to go back and then identify who was the user who actually made that adjustment in those combinations. Another way where the plan element helps in differentiating whether a data was loaded directly from the source system, that's where we have a load dimension member, which helps in saying if this data was loaded all the way from the source system. And if the drill through is established in the connectivity, you will be able to perform a drill through by simply doing a right click on the balance that you see in the screen and then perform the drill through, which will take you all the way back to the source system and differentiate what were the journals that made to those total balance. And in case if you have some direct inputs, and assuming you have other planning processes within your planning suite, and you wanted to identify whether the data is flowing from a workforce or even capex or projects, right? So plan element typically helps in differentiating those data elements. Let's talk about how the reporting and dashboard capabilities are. So EPM Planning Cloud offers a lot of reporting capabilities where you have the Smart View for Office, which can be plugged in top of the Office suite, which helps in connecting to your cloud planning application, and you can pull your numbers in the Excel interface, which is much more sophisticated and to which we are more familiar with, and where you can also use those macros or even those Excel functionalities to build some cool looking dashboards and reports. And you also get the pixel perfect kind of reporting studio helps in creating some management style reports using those FR studios. And you also get those out of the box infolets dashboards in case if you offer an out of the box planning module, or even if you wanted to have a custom planning module, still you will be able to define and develop these dashboards, which will give you a quick insight to your data. This is one another key thing that any administrator will be worried about, so security and controls. EPM provides layers of securities. Let's start with the topmost layer where it provides a role-based access, right? So you can define when an user enters an instance, you can define what role with which they can actually enter the system. A service administrator being at the top, and then the viewer role at the bottommost in the layer. And if you wanted to segregate the level of roles and responsibilities within the application, like at the object level, maybe user one who wanted to have access only to financial statements, maybe other user should be assigned only to a different module within the planning system, which is also possible within the EPM plan. And you wish to do some data level restriction, and that's where the dimension level segregation comes in, where you can say user one can view the compensation by all employees, whereas the other user can see only the aggregated total employee level detail, but not at individual employee level compensations. Let's move to one other interesting topic to understand how you can actually move forward to the cloud. So there are multiple ways in which you can move to cloud. So one of the easiest thing is the lift and shift of your on-prem application all the way to your cloud infrastructure. Again, you can deploy your on-prem Hyperion planning application in a different cloud infrastructure or even within Oracle cloud infrastructure. Technically, your application is now in the cloud. However, the application that you are going to access from the cloud is still the older version or the on-prem version, which we know Oracle support will not be there post 2030. And this is where you'll also not get all those latest features that you typically see it in the EPM planning cloud environment. Another way to move is assuming you don't want to move your application as such to a cloud infrastructure. Instead, you just wanted to move your planning application plus data to the new EPM cloud. So that's where the LCM snapshot process helps in the traditional way of exporting and migrating your data from production to different environments within your on-prem environment. Right? The traditional LCM snapshot will also help in migrating your application data to your cloud in bits and pieces, where you'll have to set up a custom application in the one of the parts that you've been subscribed to in the cloud, and import your snapshot and make sure all the application is all working good. Let's take an example where you may be having more than one application in your on-prem world, which you wanted to migrate it to EPM planning suite. So that's where you may have to provision two different parts and move each application to one of those parts. Here is a quick assessment to identify which route would be a best option moving forward towards the cloud. You have an on-prem application. The first question we may be having is whether your on-prem application is an architect application. If it is an EPMA application, so now the question is you don't have an exact replication, or you cannot move that application as such into the cloud. So that's where we have a basic question. Do you want to use a pre-built or the out-of-the-box modules in the cloud? Right, in case if your answer is yes, you can pick and choose which module you wanted to enable, and then you can configure, build the integration, and then your planning cloud is live there. Assuming you don't wanted to use those out-of-the-box planning, instead you wanted to build your own custom process in the cloud, then you can go ahead and have an enterprise edition, build your custom application, identify the key pain point that you wanted to address in the cloud suite, and then build the solution, and EPM planning is live in the cloud. If in case you don't have an EPMA in their on-prem, and instead you have a custom app, again the question is, do you want to consider redesigning your current process that you've been using in the on-prem? If the answer is yes, you can go back to predefined modules, all those questions. If the answer is no, traditional LCM export and import process would work better, which we have highlighted in our previous slide. Hemal, would you like to talk about our customer success stories?
Sure. So we are going to cover two different case studies where a customer had EPM Cloud as well as Fusion ERP, and one of the customer opted for a big bang or a kind of a one go live approach, whereas another customer opted for a staggered approach. Would like to get into the first one, which is a healthcare service provider, where it was a complete suite from the core finance and EPM going live together. Customer was having a legacy application on Microsoft Dynamics for the ERP and the budgeting system as Exim, and the data warehouse as a key stats application with a third-party tool called Jet Reporting, as well as manual reporting tools, which is Excel-based, used for the financial reporting. After the adoption of Oracle Cloud, they moved from like 18 legal entities to like 30 plus legal entities and 550 plus locations, or the campus locations, if I may have to say, and utilizing EPM Cloud planning budgeting service for both the budgeting process as well as the reporting, financial reporting aspect. The data was sourced from 3 plus systems for the statistical data as well as the budgeting calculation. In the next slide, we're going to talk about what was the process built up to derive the budget specifically for the healthcare industry business need, and how it was utilized along with the statistical data. So would like to hand it over to Prakash to throw some light on how the design was being done, specifically catered to the healthcare industry.
Thanks, Hemal. So for this customer, they have multiple data sources which sends data on a more frequent basis. So one system which sends statistical information on a daily basis, which again has to be utilized in the EPM, through which we arrive the stats adjusted budget numbers. And then we also get the monthly statistical information from the same system, and we also have another system which provides monthly budgeted stats data. And we also have the financials cloud, which sends the GL actuals on an hourly basis. And in EPM, where we have built some crosswalk mappings to say how the GL accounts are mapped all the way with the stats accounts. And there are a lot of cases where a single GL account will be mapped with multiple statistical account. And based on this crosswalk mapping, the rule was defined in a way to solve the problem of deriving the statistical adjusted number. So the budget number, what's getting originated on the EPM system, is again being adjusted by the stats entry. So we utilize these data again in the Fusion Cloud to typically to apply a soft limit whenever a purchase order getting created or requesters creates a PO. This stats adjusted number goes in as an advisory data in the Fusion Cloud. Along with this, we also send the budget all the way to the financial system for tracking purpose and some reporting needs, where we have built some dashboard that says the year-over-year change, and then how the patients per day were actually calculated based on the statistical information. We also send the outbounds to a local server, which again been consumed by a different system for different reporting needs. Back to you, Hema.
Yeah, so another use case or the customer case study is for energy and utility provider. And for that customer, it is multi-year staggered adoption approach which customer had adopted, starting from 2017, where they adopted core finance ERP on Oracle Fusion Cloud, and took the subsequent couple years to stabilize and adopt supply chain modules. Followed by in 2021, which is last year, they embarked on EPM journey. So for EPM, the modules that were in scope were like Close Manager of FCCS, Enterprise Data Management Cloud, EDMCS, Financial Planning, Narrative Reporting, and Workforce Planning. Planned for 5 months duration, and subsequently in the current 2022, which is ongoing, is the project planning, CapEx planning, and some enhancement to the reports. One of the good aspects is integrating this EPM with other ERP application, and within EPM, so many modules talking with each other, and that is one of the key aspects, which is talking about a connected application. And Prakash would like you to throw some light from technically how systems and the modules were connected as a part of the integrated business process.
Definitely. So one key differentiation between this customer and then the earlier customer is where the other customer was using a custom planning application, completely a customized solution, whereas for this customer, it's all out of the box planning suite, what we have enabled and then configured for this customer. So within the EPM portfolio, where we have EDMCS primarily to control all those metadata. So whenever someone wanted to create a value in a value set, or even if they wanted to alter the hierarchy version, right? This is all controlled by the EDMCS system. Upon making changes in the EDMCS, it goes for an approval, and upon the approval, it gets published to all the spoke system which are connected or plugged into the EDMCS console. So this is where the Fusion Financial and then EPM or the spoke system connected to the EDMCS. And on the other side, right, where we have the financial, which is also connected to the planning and which sends a GL actual on every 10 minutes basis. In return, it takes back the budget data on demand basis. We also have the narrative report component, which is connected back to the planning suite, where we have the dollar numbers as well as the statistical information, which are blended and mashed up to bring some disclosure management kind of documents, a monthly review report, and then quarterly review report. Each of those are close to 20 and 40 pages documents. Let's speak into what we have configured in the planning cloud. Within the planning, we have configured financials, which is again broken down into income statement, revenue, expense, and then balance sheet and cash flow. We also have the workforce planning to plan the compensation, and then secondary queue for holding all those assumption to benefits and then additional earnings, which are all connected back to the financials. And financial is again tied back to the custom planning cube, which we use it for the reporting that's connected to the narrative reports. In future, we are working on bringing up the projects and then capital live, which are ideally going to send the aggregated expenses from by projects, together as a project into the financial, and depreciation amortization, which also goes into the financial statements. Let's talk about the periodic maintenance that we'll have to keep in consideration as part of the EPM system live process, right? So we typically establish a budget process task list to differentiate, and then the key tasks that each of an user has to do or perform on a periodic basis. As an administrator who is supposed to generate the baseline budget, and then the FP&A team analyst and controller can look into those balances and make some adjustments. Again, the adjustment can be done by using a lot of functionalities and features that are available within the system. And for this, you don't really need to have a third party system or a different tool to make sure you are actually following through the steps in sequence. Within planning, you can utilize the task list to perform this. And the instance maintenance, how you wanted to maintain the system on a daily basis, or whether you wanted to take a backup of your application, whether you wanted to download and keep those last 30-day backup. Again, you can automate this process as well. And as part of the monthly patching, where Oracle publishes what's new that goes into each of these business processes, right? So that's something that we'll have to keep in mind, that we have to check those on a periodic basis. As a best practice recommendation, we recommend our customers not to enable the data level audit, where there are more frequent data getting loaded into the system and huge volume of data goes in, right? This I typically be consuming a lot more database size, and which may also reduce the performance of the system. And then we recommend people to use security layer as efficient as, and we build some matrix to primarily inherit groups instead of creating multiple groups. We recommend people to create from the bottom top approach. And then wherever possible, we always automate all the processes using the EPM utility, or the utility which has been plugged in or deployed in any of the local servers, right? And then we again use these utilities to send some periodic failure messages or the status messages to make sure where exactly you're running into challenges, to easily identify and make sure that this is not happening again and again. And then workflows primarily to delegate your work in your absence, make sure the system or somebody is not depending and waiting on you, right? So that's where the workflow delegation is something that we always recommend. And to talk specifically on the year end and then month end that's where you'll have to make sure you add the adjustment period into the data management mappings to make sure there is no break free and breaking happening in the system in terms of the data not getting masked up between the source system and then your planning suite. And then also make sure whenever you're introducing a new fiscal year in your ERP system, make sure the budget periods are opened up. That's plays a vital role when you push back these budget entries from your EPM suite to your financial system. And also the other key thing to consider is the synchronization of your metadata between all the spoke system, assuming you may have multiple system. So the easiest ways to do and make sure that there is no break here is by utilizing the EDMCS application to talk to all these connected system. And then making sure the variables appropriately getting updated on a more frequent basis, where you wanted to make sure there is no anything is missing in the periodic checklist. Whenever you have a budget data goes into reporting cube, make sure the scenario is being defined in your ERP system. In case if you have a fusion system, make sure to run the create general ledger balances cube process. And in case you have a budget control system where you wanted to send the budget for the advisory control or tracking budget, that's where you'll have to make sure budget is created, budget control is created, and if not, create it and then run the budgetary control balances queue process to make sure this is all ready to pick the data. Would like Hemal to quickly summarize what we have covered in the last 45 to 50 minutes, Hemal.
Thank you, Prakash. So just a quick recap of we talked about different challenges that business is facing, and for the business to gain a confidence of a system which can meet the business need is essentially requires a connected planning system which can give a unified view of their financial aspect, their operational planning aspect, as well as their line of business planning if they're doing it, along with your workforce, CapEx, all built in that. Second aspect critical is the planning system should be flexible, should have that automation capability for their modeling, flexibility, along with what if or predictive analysis. And if system can be integrated to have an integrated solution from the source system to an EPM capable system, that will be the best, along with the tools which can automate those data movement between the systems. Along with that, ability to have effective drill down and drill through capability, which can ensure to break down system silos and an end-to-end transactional visibility or the balance visibility that accounting team can get. And that's what's going to be key to build the confidence for the business users. Along with the reporting tools, which Prakash had showcased and talked about, is going to actually help also from their auditing standpoint and as well as from the financial reporting standpoint. And last but not least, their role-based access control and the multiple level of security, even at a dimension level, what Oracle EPM brings, and that is going to be a great and immense help to the business. So with that, we are coming to the completion of our presentation. We would like to open a forum for Q&A, but before we go there, quickly a reminder, you can always put your questions into the chat window, and we are having a special offer for all the attendees who have joined us to provide a 2-hour complimentary introductory training. The topics can be EPM planning product demo, or it can be a reporting tools walkthrough, or an integration tools walkthrough. So you can always leverage that. And if you are interested in any of these topics, feel free to reach out to Melody Benabu or Doug Mon before 28th of Feb 2022. The email IDs are provided here. So with that, we would like to open for Q&A forum. Over to you, Maria.
Thank you so much, you guys. Hemal and Prakash, if you guys could put your names back up on the screen. Our audience was actually asking to get your speaker information. Even that first slide would be perfect. Thank you so much. That was a really great and informative presentation. And as I just mentioned, if you guys would take a moment to type your questions into the chat, I'll go ahead and paste them for everyone to see and to hear. While we wait for those questions to come in, I'll give you all a little bit longer. I understand it takes a moment to type those in. Remember, we do have a send coming up in June, so I'm going to go ahead and put the link for that into the chat so you can take a look. There we go. All right. I do have a question. What's the typical timeline for Oracle EPM planning implementation?
A good question. So typically Oracle EPM Cloud planning implementation, again, depends on two aspects. It's just the financial planning, which is one of the key product offerings that can range anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 weeks, depending on how many source systems it needs to integrate with. But if you're looking out for multiple sub-processes, including workforce planning, projects and CapEx planning, the timeline would be longer. So one of the key aspects for implementation is what are the source systems and what is your ERP system to which it needs to integrate. If it's an Oracle ERP Cloud or the Finance Cloud, it has got inbuilt integration real time, so that will be a much faster.
Great. All right, and I appreciate you guys putting your information up on the screen. So if anyone thinks of any questions later, they have information to follow up. And don't forget, we do have our member directory. You could always search their names. That's why I went ahead and put our speaker info into the chat, so you can reach out to them through that as well. So we will be sure to post this great recording onto our knowledge base. That should be up within 24 hours. So I want to say thank you again to our presenters. Oh, looks like we have a question that did just pop up. Let's make sure we address this before closing out today. Yes, someone was asking about the slides. The slides will be included in the knowledge base as well with the recording. So you will have access to those. All right, good question. Well, thanks again, everyone, for attending today's webinar. That does conclude our session. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.